The 80s in America was a time when fashion was a way to make a statement, express freedom, and be part of something bigger. It was an era when clothes told stories, reflected the mood and lifestyle of an entire generation. Each piece of closet had its own character and special meaning. What things became symbols of the streets and school corridors? What made them really cool? Is it possible today to recapture that unique atmosphere of those years just by wearing a couple of things from this list? This question is asked by the heart, nostalgia, and the desire to feel again part of a living culture that never dies. In those years, clothing was not just a function, but a true language of communication and self-expression. Colors, textures, and shapes were all created with a sense of rhythm and the spirit of the times. Sometimes it seemed that every element of an outfit carried a bit of boldness and daring. In this video, 25 things that were worn then and why they are still an important part of fashion history. Levi's 501 jeans. Levi's 501 is a true classic of American denim fashion that was as popular in the 80s as it is today. The jeans featured straight pant legs and a traditional button closure instead of a zipper. This model was a symbol of genuine, slightly rough and yet universal style. They were worn at work and school, on the streets and at parties. The fabric was dense and durable. Over time, jeans acquired their unique shade and softness. A spirit of freedom, independence, and simplicity was associated with this piece of clothing. Levi's 501 were easily combined with any outerwear, from cotton t-shirts to corduroy jackets. For many, these jeans became a closet staple, the perfect combination of comfort and style. In the 80s, their popularity grew not only because of their comfort, but also thanks to the iconic musicians and actors who chose this model. Keeping the classic cut, they still adapted to new fashion trends, allowing you to look modern. These jeans were versatile, suitable for both everyday business and parties, giving the image of sincere ease. Corduroy pants. Corduroy pants had a special texture, soft but dense, with distinctive rolls of fabric that felt good against the skin. They were loved to be worn in the fall when the cool air demanded something warmer than the usual cotton pants. Corduroy emphasized the informality and at the same time neatness of the image. They were worn with loose shirts, which added a slight carelessness but still looked stylish. Often such pants were chosen for meetings with friends or walks when you want to feel comfortable, but do not lose the external gloss. Shades ranged from deep brown and green to burgundy. Each color seemed to emphasize the autumn mood and warmth of the soul. Corduroy went well with low-heeled shoes or loafers, which made the look more balanced. These pants fit perfectly into the casual style, allowing you to experiment with tops and accessories. They were a universal solution for those who appreciated comfort and wanted to look neat. Corduroy pants remained popular due to their texture and ability to enliven a simple outfit. Striped t-shirts with contrasting collar. Striped shirts with a strong, contrasting collar became an everyday classic in the 80s. They were simple, but that was their strength. Stripes in a variety of variants and colors were everywhere. These shirts were worn by school children, athletes, and skateboarders, combining them with jeans or sports pants. The contrasting collar added dynamics and clarity to the image, making the t-shirt recognizable and lively. These t-shirts looked effortless and casual, but always kept the style on a good level. The lightweight cotton and comfortable fit made them one of the most popular items of clothing in teenage wear. They were also affordable and durable, making them indispensable in everyday life. Often, striped t-shirts became the basis for layering looks with open shirts or vests. In sports teams and schools, these t-shirts served as an informal uniform element. The brightness of the stripes and the simplicity of the style made it easy to combine these t-shirts with other elements of the closet. Sweatshirts with university or team logos. Sweatshirts with the logos of universities, colleges, and sports teams were everywhere. They were sold in stores and even supermarkets, and sometimes received as gifts after sporting events. These sweatshirts were associated with youth culture, learning, and sporting spirit, as well as with John Hughes movies where the characters wore just such garments. They were usually made of thick cotton with a fleece inner side, which made them warm and cozy. Emblems on the chest or sleeves created a sense of community, whether it was a basketball team or a university. Worn on walks, sports, and home gatherings, these sweatshirts became a symbol of comfort and style at the same time. They went well with jeans and sneakers, creating a casual and sporty look. For many, it was the first serious thing with a brand or sign that you could wear and feel part of the team. These sweatshirts were often adorned with stripes on the sleeves and other decorative elements that added to the dynamic look. In the evenings or on cooler days, they became a favorite garment that kept you warm and stood out from the crowd. Denim vests, unapologetic. Denim vests were popular, though not as massively popular as other denim items. They were usually without patches or lettering, just faded denim with obvious signs of time. Vests were often made by cutting the sleeves off an old jacket. This added street character and a slightly rough chic to the look. Denim vests were worn over shirts or even sweatshirts, combined with pants or jeans of a different shade. Vests were a particular favorite among music and rock and roll fans. They symbolized freedom, informality, and individuality, standing out from the crowd without too many words. Sometimes rivets or badges were added to the vests, reinforcing the rocker style. They could be seen both at concerts and in the everyday life of young people. Vests perfectly fit into multi-layered images and allowed to create interesting contrasts with other fabrics. This thing remained a symbol of rebelliousness and independence, which was appreciated by many generations. Plaid shirts, Plaid shirts took a special place in the closet of the 80s, becoming both a symbol of working class and university youth. Most often worn open over a plain t-shirt, the style moved from garage parties and college music scenes to everyday life. The cage was very different, from bright, shouting, to restrained, a little faded over the years. This clothing element allowed not only to add layers to an image, but also to express a mood, free-spiritedness, a bit of rebellion, and a slight carelessness. Shirts were often removed during the hottest part of the day and simply thrown over the shoulders or tied at the waist. The dense cotton fabric was comfortable and suitable for transitional seasons, and the plaid went well with Levi's 501 jeans and sneakers. The look was simultaneously reminiscent of both city streets and country walks, creating a versatile yet recognizable style that never went out of style. Plaid shirts could have additional details: patch pockets, metal buttons, sometimes with a slight worn effect of the fabric, giving things a vintage character. Many chose shirts with a large check, where color combinations became a bright accent in the image. Such clothes were not only comfortable, but also democratic, suitable for people of various professions and ages. At that time, the plaid shirt became one of the few elements that could combine the grunge style with the classics of urban fashion. What turtlenecks under a sweater? Thin neck turtlenecks have become one of the favorite layering options. Their bright, colorful shades, from deep red to pastel tones, brought brightness to the look and helped them stand out among the monotone masses. Despite the fact that turtlenecks were considered a warmer garment, they were worn even in summer, worn under open shirts or light sweaters. This style could be seen in music videos and movies of the time. They created a sense of neatness and intelligence, but did not look strict. The material was thin and elastic, perfectly fitting the figure. Turtlenecks emphasized the silhouette. They could be combined with jeans or chinos, as well as used as a base layer under jackets and vests. It was this element that helped to create a style that easily combined classic and casual chic. Models often had neat seams and a small stand-up collar, which made the image more elegant and complete. The colors of turtlenecks ranged from calm, neutral to acidic. They allowed you to easily experiment and add contrast to the ensemble. Especially popular were monochrome variants, which served as a base for more complex combinations with patterned sweaters or jackets. Turtlenecks were worn not only by men, but also by women, emphasizing understated elegance and urban style. Sneakers with colored inserts, Reebok, Puma, Nike. Sneakers with bright colored inserts and logos became a real icon of 80s street style. The main criterion for choosing were colors. It did not matter whether Reebok, Puma, or Nike. More important was the ability to stand out and emphasize their individuality. Often, sneakers were worn literally to wear. The sole began to crack, the fabric ripped, and favorite colors faded. But it was almost impossible to throw away such things. These sneakers were both sports shoes and part of the everyday closet, combining comfort and bright design. Many models were characterized by eye-catching details, acidic inserts, neon accents, and contrasting soles. For many, these shoes became a symbol of freedom of movement, youthful energy, and street fashion that could easily move from the gym to the city streets. Each brand tried to make their model memorable. Nike often used the signature swoosh, Puma used wide stripes, and Reebok used bold color combinations. Such sneakers were popular among musicians and sports fans alike, becoming a source of pride and an expression of status. Many people kept a pair for many years, repaired the sole, and treated their favorite shoes with care. Shoes of this type were well combined with jeans, shorts, and even tracksuits, creating bright and dynamic images. Checkered or solid-colored chinos pants. Chinos pants were the perfect compromise between casual denim freedom and stricter grown-up clothes. In the 80s, especially popular were models in the colors of khaki, beige, and burgundy, which easily combined with different elements of the closet. They were worn to school, work, and informal meetings, appreciating comfort and versatility. The material was softer than jeans and allowed to move freely, while looking neat and stylish. Chinos went well with plaid shirts and sweaters, and harmonized well with turtlenecks and sneakers. They were a comfortable base for those who wanted to look a little more grown up, but not to lose freedom and comfort in everyday clothes. The pants often had a classic cut with slightly tapered pant legs emphasizing the silhouette. These chinos were an informal standard in schools and colleges, and many people chose them as an alternative to jeans. The different colors made them easy to fit into seasonal looks, especially fall and spring looks. Many appreciated them for the fact that they kept their shape quickly and did not require complicated maintenance. White mid-calf socks. White mid-calf socks. This detail might seem strange or even ridiculous from a modern point of view, but back then it was a real trend. Wearing them so that the socks were clearly visible was considered a style must. Without white socks, the image looked incomplete, as if an important touch was forgotten. Often these socks were combined with sneakers or loafers, emphasizing a sporty and fresh look. They gave the image an additional accent, slightly contrasting with shoes and pants. White calf-length socks became a kind of iconic element, linking generations and reminding of the spirit of the time when style was based on bright, noticeable details and self-confidence. In sports and street fashion, such socks were almost mandatory. They created visual balance and helped to stand out. They were often worn tucked into sneakers or hanging just above the shoes. It looked fresh and modern. Sometimes white socks were complemented by brightly colored stripes or lettering, enhancing the effect and attracting attention. They became a symbol of an era when details were as important as the overall silhouette of the garment. Polo with raised collar. The polo with a raised collar was an iconic piece that couldn't be worn any other way. The collar always stood up straight and it looked like a signal. I know what I'm doing. Such a detail added confidence and even a bit of daring to the image. Polos came in a variety of colors, from pastel to bright, but with the collar up, they always looked spectacular and stylish. It was a way to stand out against the background of smooth shirts, to emphasize belonging to a certain party or subculture. They were worn with jeans and chinos combined with sweatshirts or vests. It was this small stylistic decision made the image complete and memorable. Often, the collar was specially crumpled or twisted to give more volume and liveliness. In clubs and at school parties, this technique was a kind of business card. For many, the raised collar was associated with a slight challenge and playfulness at the same time. Sometimes the collar was complemented with contrasting trim or a brand logo to add a touch of zest. In sporty and casual looks, it was a universal solution that made the style expressive and light. Big knit sweaters. Voluminous coarse knit sweaters were something of a soft refuge in the world of the 80s. They were roomy, cozy, often with large patterns or simple embossed textures. Many wore them over hoodies or shirts, creating layering and comfort. Jammers were not only warm, but also stylish. Sometimes they were combined with a belt to emphasize the waist and add shape to a voluminous silhouette. The materials were natural, wool and cotton, which made them particularly pleasant to the touch and durable. These sweaters were great for cooler days and made you feel at home even when outdoors. They were part of a look that combined simplicity with a considered aesthetic. Knit patterns could range from classic braids to more experimental geometric motifs. Due to their textured nature, these sweaters looked great with jeans and skirts. The fashion for bulkiness reflected the trends of the time, freedom and comfort. They were often bought in secondhand shops where you could find real rarities. Sweaters served as a kind of shield from the everyday hustle and bustle, creating an atmosphere of calm and warmth. Leather loafers with buckle or lace-up detailing. Leather loafers with a buckle or lace-up were an essential part of the everyday closet of many in the 80s. Most often seen in brown or red shades, they went perfectly with chinos and t-shirts, creating a relaxed and well-groomed look at the same time. The leather was soft and had a special shine over the years, and the slight scuffing only added to the charm. These moccasins were suitable both for walking around the city and for more formal occasions. When you wanted to look stylish, but without excessive strictness, the peculiarity of such shoes was in their convenience. You could wear them all day long, and lacing or decorative buckle added grace. They became a kind of classic, which combined the traditions and trends of the 80s, and many appreciated them for their versatility and durability. The loafers were worn with white socks and without, which made the image more free or neat, depending on the mood. Special attention was paid to cleanliness and care. Leather shoes required careful attitude. Such moccasins were often decorated with minimalistic details so as not to distract from the main outfit. They could be seen on the city streets and in the movies, where they symbolized style and tranquility. Many people chose this type of shoes to add a touch of elegance and classiness to their image. Coat with a wide collar. The wide collar coat in dark shades, deep blue, gray, black, or even dark green, was one of those things that could change any mood. It was just below the waist, sometimes reaching mid-thigh, and featured a classic, slightly retro cut. You could see the influence of 70s fashion in these coats, but in the 80s they were also worn in warmer weather, often for style rather than warmth. The wide collar was easily transformed into a dramatic element, especially when it was turned up to protect from the wind or to play with the image. These coats went well with jeans, chinos, sweaters, and shirts, a versatile choice for transitional seasons. They were chosen not only for their appearance, but also for the sense of confidence and slight mystique they gave. Often, the collar and edges of the coat were trimmed with contrasting stitching or decorative braid, emphasizing the shape. Coats could have a belt, emphasizing the waist and creating a more feminine silhouette. They were often complemented with stylish accessories, scarves and gloves, which added a touch of retro and elegance. In combination with boots or loafers, the coat looked modern and relevant. This style was in demand among both men and women, which emphasized its versatility. Short-sleeve shirts with geometric prints. Short-sleeve shirts with bright, geometric prints were a favorite choice for hot summer days. The material was most often polyester, which held its shape well and did not wrinkle, although it was not the most pleasant to the touch. However, the color solutions compensated for everything. Bright, sometimes screaming combinations of shapes and lines attracted the eyes. These shirts looked like an invitation to fun and carefree. They were perfect for parties, walks, and everyday life in the summer heat. Many models had a loose cut, which allowed not only to feel comfortable, but also to create the effect of lightness and freedom. Geometric print, triangles, squares, zigzags, was something new compared to classic stripes or checks. Such shirts were popular among musicians and youth, emphasizing a dynamic and energetic image. Bright colors and bold patterns created a mood of festivity and carefree. The shirts were easily combined with shorts and jeans, making them versatile. Polyester was a practical material for the summer heat, allowing it to retain its shape and brightness of color. Thin belts in bright colors. Thin belts in the 80s were not just a functional piece of clothing, but an important element of a fashionable look. Color mattered a lot. Mint, azure, bright red, yellow, or even acidic. They could make even the simplest outfit stand out. Whether belts matched shoes or other accessories, they were worn to add a striking accent and emphasize individuality. A belt could be a separator between a sweatshirt and jeans, or an accent at the waist when worn over a dress or long sweater. They were made of leather, vinyl, or fabric. Each material added its own character. In combination with jeans and plaid shirts, a bright belt created a bright and energetic image, not letting you forget about style and self-expression. This detail became a symbol of the 80s, a time when color and boldness in clothes were more important than conventions. Thin belts could have metal buckles that shone in the light and attracted attention. They were used in both men's and women's fashion, combining them with different clothes. Such belts created an effect of freshness and lightness, emphasizing the silhouette. Many people skillfully combined several accessories of the same color, making the image whole and memorable. Rope mittens and fingerless gloves. Rope mittens and fingerless gloves were more of a style statement than a necessity. They were worn even on days that weren't the coldest, to emphasize belonging to a certain subculture or simply to add a touch of rebellion to an everyday look. Mittens connected by a thin rope hung comfortably around the neck and could not be lost, which was practical for children and teenagers. Fingerless gloves allowed free use of the hands, typing, playing musical instruments, drawing, but retained some of the warmth. These accessories were often seen at concerts and street parties, emphasizing belonging to the world of rock and punk culture. Materials ranged from plain wool to leather, sometimes embellished with rivets and other decorative elements. They added to the look, making it a little more daring and unusual. Mittens on a rope were also convenient in that they did not need to constantly look for them. They always hung at hand. Often these accessories were handmade, adding to their individuality and uniqueness. Fingerless gloves allowed for uninterrupted activities that required precision while retaining some of the warmth. In an urban environment, it looked like an element of a subcultural code that was recognized by their own. The combination of practicality and aesthetics made such accessories popular among teenagers and older adults alike. Trench coat. Trench coat in the 80s was not just outerwear. It was a symbol of mystery, adventure, and even detective stories. Fashion for this element was largely formed under the influence of popular TV series and movies about detectives and spies, where the heroes appeared in such coats. The fabric was dense but at the same time light, which allowed you to wear a trench coat in both cool fall and warm spring. Beige and gray shades, classic details. Belt at the waist, large buttons, epaulettes on the shoulders, and a wide lapel collar were common. Trench coat easily turned any outfit into a stylish and mysterious image, emphasizing individuality and love for the classics. It was worn by both men and women, often combined with jeans, dresses, and business suits. This piece of clothing symbolized a transitional period when style was becoming more expressive and mature. Many people chose the trench coat for going out on the town or meeting friends, appreciating its elegance and practicality. The belt allowed the silhouette to vary from loose to tighter. Trench coat perfectly fit into the atmosphere of megacities with their dynamics and mystery. The relevance of this coat remains even now, which speaks of its classic status. In the 80s, it was worn with both heeled shoes and sneakers, emphasizing the diversity of images. Long sleeves with graphics. Long sleeves with colorful graphics became a popular clothing item that allowed to bring creativity and individuality to the image. The thin fabric was pleasant to the body and allowed to wear them as an independent layer or undershirts and sweaters. The long sleeves protected from the chill, but the lightweight material made them comfortable in any season. Long sleeves often featured drawings, band logos, sports symbols, or abstract patterns. Anything that helped you stand out and emphasize your own interests. They were often worn under t-shirts, creating the layered effect that was so popular in 80s fashion. Long sleeves were combined with jeans, shorts, and skirts, making the image more complex and interesting. This element of clothing became a real platform for self-expression and creativity, reflecting the mood of the era. The graphics could be both bright and provocative and restrained, depending on the mood and style. Music fans often chose long sleeves with their favorite bands, showing their affiliation. Many long sleeves were made of synthetic materials, making them lightweight and stretchy. These shirts were used to create both casual and stage looks. Long sleeves fit perfectly into youth trends, emphasizing freedom and creativity. Mesh caps, or truckers, became one of the most recognizable accessories of the 80s. They were more of a part of the visual landscape than a fashion statement. These caps were often worn by laborers, truckers, and then they made their way into youth subcultures and sports. The mesh back provided ventilation, and the front was usually made of thick fabric with a large logo or brightly colored lettering. Logos of gas stations, beer brands, stores, and even local restaurants created the effect of a living city map. Everyone could show what they were associated with or what they liked. Sometimes caps became a kind of business card, from baseball players to band members. They were inexpensive, practical, and simple, but at the same time gave the opportunity to express belonging to a certain style or region. The piece was easily worn with jeans, jackets, and sweaters, and became a symbol of the everyday American look. They were worn everywhere, on the streets, in schools, and stadiums, which made caps with mesh part of the popular culture of those years. In youth circles, truckers' caps were often associated with drive and freedom. Many collected them, swapped them among themselves, or decorated them with patches. Such a hat easily complemented a sporty or casual style, and sometimes used to create a country image. Bright colors and simple construction made them affordable and loved by many. Prom costumes. Prom suits were a special occasion, especially when it came to shiny fabrics. Even boys tended to wear something like pearlescent jackets, often with a small amount of sequins or shiny threads. It was a way to stand out, make a statement, and feel a celebration of growing up. Such suits often had a strict but effective style, with narrow lapels and narrow pants, which made the image elegant and a little theatrical. The fabric could shimmer in the light, creating an effect as if the clothes were playing and living a life of their own. For many, it was the first experience of putting on a real evening suit, and it was treated with special trepidation. Even girls at graduation tried to pick out outfits with glitter and luxury, and boys wearing such jackets seemed a little more mature, a little more confident. These suits had their own atmosphere of celebration and hope. They spoke of the future, changes, and new beginnings. Often parents helped to choose the fabric and style so that the costume was really memorable for life. On the photos of graduates, these suits look especially spectacular, emphasizing the mood of the celebration. For many, graduation in a shiny suit was an important moment, symbolizing the transition into adulthood. Sometimes such jackets were decorated with small embroideries or applications, which added uniqueness and individuality. Cropped sweaters and t-shirts. Cropped sweaters and t-shirts became a bold element of teenage fashion, a symbol of freedom and rebellion. They were especially popular among girls and boys, who wore them under high-waisted jeans, revealing the stomach. This detail was a kind of challenge to the norms and rules. It showed confidence and the desire to stand out. Materials could be different, from soft cotton to synthetics with a slight shine. Often, such things were decorated with bright prints or inscriptions. In combination with massive belts and chains, shortened sweaters and t-shirts created an image full of energy and charisma. This was one of the first signs that youth fashion was beginning to take more and more daring forms. Sometimes these tops were worn over shirts or with leggings to create layered sets. They allowed you to experiment with the silhouette and emphasize the individuality of everyone who chose this style. In the evening, a cropped sweater was easily transformed into an element of club attire, adding lightness and playfulness. Many teenagers knitted or bought such things at flea markets, which made the image even more unique. It was important to show your independence and unconventional view of fashion, and these shortened garments did the job perfectly. Low-heeled loafer shoes. Low-heeled loafers were a versatile choice for many girls and women of the 80s. Often patent, they could be either a classic school option or part of an evening outfit. The heel was usually stable and not too high, from 3 to 5 centimeters, which allowed to wear such shoes all day long without discomfort. The lacquered surface added elegance and shine, especially when combined with dresses and skirts. Many girls combined them with jeans, which created an unexpected and modern image, breaking the strict canons. These shoes were comfortable and gave the gait lightness and grace. They perfectly fit into both casual and festive sets. A special chic added neat design and classic shape. Loafers became the choice of those who valued both comfort and style. Such shoes are still a symbol of femininity and elegance. In some cases, loafers were decorated with small bows or metal details, which made them even more spectacular. These shoes were perfectly combined with bright tights and bright accessories, emphasizing the mood of the 80s. Shoes were one of the few details that could quickly change the overall style and mood of the look. Front slit jean skirts. Denim skirts with a slit in the front were a comfortable and stylish alternative to dresses and pants. Most often, they were simple models with buttons or zippers on the front, which created an interesting visual effect and allowed some freedom of movement. Denim fabric, with its durability and distinctive blue color, gave the skirts a slight, rough charm. The skirts were worn with colored tights, from bright reds to blues and purples, which added personality to the look and made it more noticeable. This contrast of textures and colors was part of the bold fashion game of the 80s. Skirts were paired with simple t-shirts, sweaters, or even leather jackets, creating a variety of styles from casual to bold street style. Wearing a denim skirt was comfortable and fashionable, and the cut added a bit of sexiness without going beyond good taste. Many teenagers chose these skirts to emphasize their independence and style. The slit could be both neat and quite noticeable, depending on the model and mood. In combination with massive boots or sneakers, such skirts looked especially relevant. Sometimes belts with large buckles or decorative chains were added to the denim skirt. This piece of clothing became a classic of the 80s, a symbol of freedom and boldness. Ring earrings, metal bracelets, and heart pendants. Accessories played an important role in shaping the 80s look. Ring earrings, solid metal bracelets, and heart pendants were simple but memorable pieces that could make an outfit. Large ring earrings could be gold or silver, often textured or patterned. They added dynamics and movement with every turn of the head. Metal bracelets were bulky and prominent, sometimes decorated with engravings or inlays. Pendants in the form of hearts symbolized romance and youth. They were worn on thin chains or in a set with bracelets. Accessories complemented both everyday and holiday looks, making them more expressive. They were a kind of statement, sometimes even the only color accent in an outfit. It is thanks to such details that many people remembered 80s fashion as a bright and bold era, where it was important not to be afraid to stand out and experiment. Accessories were often combined with bright fabrics and prints, creating spectacular contrasts. Fashion of the 80s encouraged maximalism. The more jewelry, the better. Metal pieces reflected the spirit of the time, a little rough but at the same time stylish and expressive. These jewelry pieces were a kind of amulets of confidence and charisma. 80s fashion is not just about clothes, it is a memory of a time when everyone could express themselves through style, show their individuality, and join the general atmosphere of freedom and experimentation. Today, these pieces are a reminder of how important it is to stay real and be bold in your choices. The modern closet often loses the spark that burned in the clothes of past decades. If you have a desire in your heart to dive into the zeitgeist and be inspired by the real fashion that changed the world, this channel is just for you. Subscribe and continue your journey into the world of style and history with us.